Welcome to the first full-length episode of Season 2 of the Feminine Mistake Podcast.
Woohoo! Woo! Yay!
I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I'm joined by...
Hillary. Sarah.
And actor, writer, Liz Shad.
Hello.
Hello, Liz.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're
Liz
excited
is
to
the
have
best.
You. Yes.
Y'all are so sweet.
So on today's show, we will be discussing the film Overboard, which I now embarrassingly realize I did not look up the year that this was made.
87.
1987.
God, Sarah.
1987.
Right?
Sarah's always got the facts.
It's a Gary Marshall film.
I know, Gary Marshall.
What? Again?
No. I know, this is our second Gary Marshall film.
What else did he direct?
We did Beaches. That was our second episode of season 1. Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, directed by Gary Marshall. And so before we get into talking about the movie, let's talk about what everybody's experiences were with Overboard before the podcast. Hillary.
So I have always had a love affair with this movie. I've watched it a million times probably because it always used to come on reruns on TNT on like Sunday afternoons.
Yes, that's true.
And my family, when I was little, our tradition was to get up and go to church and then go to brunch and then come home and watch whatever was on TNT.
Which was Overboard.
I watched a lot of Overboard, and Goldie Hawn is beautiful.
So you might say this is part of your religious tradition.
Yes,
Oh my
it
goodness.
pretty much is. It more so now as an adult. This is probably more part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Less the church part, but definitely
mostly just the
Overboard. I think I'm
Overboard.
going to start incorporating that into my Sunday routines from now on.
Everyone should
Nice.
watch Overboard on a Sunday.
Yep.
All right. So a little bit of some positive memories there.
It was like coming home to Christ. When I rewatched this last night. It was a beautiful experience.
Wonderful.
I had never seen this before, and I had never heard of it before too.
No.
And
Come on, we've talked about it before.
yeah,
I swear on this podcast
I
we've
know.
talked about
I'd
it.
heard Nicole say the name of it, and all I knew was that it was probably about a boat.
That's a good assumption.
So that's all I knew.
Okay, so just a boat. That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Liz?
I about very much the same. I had never heard of the movie before. I had never seen it. And then I was looking at the cover of it and I was like, oh, this is about a cruise ship, surely. And they're going to fall off of it and then end up in the hospital together and fall in love. Clearly, that's not what the movie's about.
Well,
but
in a way, maybe.
A little
Some fucked up stuff that
Yeah, a little
happens.
bit.
Little crazy stuff that happens.
Couple felonies.
So,
There we go.
all right. So totally fresh watch here for Liz and Sarah. So that's very exciting. I am old as fuck. So I saw this movie in the movie theater when I was a child with my mom. And we loved it. I remember the whole family loved it. And I remember especially like we really liked the part where she eats the bug in the back of the truck. Like I remember very
my
clearly
God.
that was a big hit.
I called my sister today and I was like, you want to know the only thing that I remember from that movie was I ate a bug.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
my sister just goes,
ate a bug.
God, I remember that. And we just said it back and forth like 4 times.
So yeah, we watched it in the movie theater, and of course, then when it came on syndication, watched it over and over and over again. So like, this movie is very familiar to me. I had not seen it in a long time, but I really feel like, unlike some of the other films we've watched for the show, like it just all came back. All right, so that's our experience with the film Overboard, and let's get into talking about this film.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man. You look stupid and rich.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York. Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, so let's talk about this movie. Let's get into Overboard.
Yes.
So we start with the
It
with
opens
the
with a
opening.
giant yacht, which I was right. It was
Just
about a boat.
massive fucking
You are right.
boat.
It is the boat does figure heavily. It opens actually on the water with that music that every time I hear it, it's like smelling chocolate chip cookies. I'm like, I get excited right away. It's like, dun, 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 and I get excited. I'm like, Overboard is coming on, guys.
The font was very large.
It was so
yes,
big.
it reminded me of Full House almost.
Yes.
Oh,
with
yeah.
just like the bold, but then how it would cover the whole screen, and you're just like,
I was imagining Nicole was imagining being in the theater and how that would look. I mean, you were in the theater, so can you tell us how that looked?
I don't remember that, but I can tell you that if I were in the theater today watching it, I feel like I would have to look, like I would have to turn my head
Like,
from one
read
side to
from
the other,
one to the other, yeah.
just to take it all in. Like the font was enormous. The opening of the film is really, we don't see any of the main characters at the beginning. We just kind of see shots of the common people. I think it's safe to assume that we are probably in Trump country.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd say so.
You know, I think that's probably where we are. So we're seeing a lot of working class folks fishing and whatnot, reeling in their nets and stuff. And then we see Kurt Russell with a
Looking sexy as ever.
I have so many sexual feelings about Kurt Russell.
so many.
Which is funny because I don't find him attractive at all.
I think he's objectively attractive, but I'm not attracted to him.
I will say his face at the very beginning when he's cutting the wood and he's got his like lip tucked in like that.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Okay. I was just like,
I don't like his face.
It was cute though. It wasn't a bad way.
I was definitely fantasizing about.
I was like so
Kurt
turned
Russell.
on.
I like his arms.
Love his hair. Oh my god!
I know.
Run my
His
fingers
mullet?
through
The
that
mullet?
all day. I
have
loved
never
it.
been so attracted to a mullet
Loved
in all
it.
my life.
I will never understand.
It was a nice mullet, guys. I don't think I've ever said that or thought that I would say that in my life.
I would venture to say a hot mullet.
Yeah, it was a hot mullet. I'm glad we're on the same page here, Nicole.
You guys are always attracted to the guys.
Not always.
A lot of them are really hot.
I mean, Tom Selleck, Kurt Russell. These are sex symbols of the 1980s. Put them in the same movie. Oh my god. Okay.
Couldn't handle it.
So, meanwhile, back in the small town of my nightmares, Kurt Russell is sawing at something. And we see Billy Pratt for the first time. Nobody has any lines yet. Billy Pratt, his buddy, who I don't remember the actor's name. I do know he played like the super on Friends as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Trigger.
Trigger, yes.
Yes.
So,
That was where I knew him from.
right.
Okay. Good job.
So we see bad Billy Pratt, and Dean, of course, is Kurt Russell plays Dean Prophet. So Dean Prophet is now he's got some job on the yacht. So we see him going towards the yacht. He's looking for the yacht. He shows up, and the first person he encounters is Grant.
With a gun.
We
Yeah.
hear them talking. We overhear them as he's walking up.
Right.
And
We
he's
get some
saying,
exposition there.
She's like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to redo my closet. And he's like, whatever, girl. I'm skeet shooting.
Whatever, diddums.
Yeah.
Diddums.
That was it. Diddums.
So we get a little exposition there. They're stuck there for some repairs, I think.
Apparently to the boat.
Right. And she's going to get her closet remodeled. And so that's what Kurt Russell's doing there.
Well, first we see her. She emerges in this like military-looking swimsuit cover-up with
shoulder pads?
sequins and shoulder pads and sparkles and
Guys,
Incredible.
I just love shoulder pads, and I wish they were still in style.
And she's wearing like the hair could not be tighter in that bun.
Oh my gosh.
No.
very, very, very high-cut swimsuit,
And the
revealing all the
thighs
area.
Yes. And the amazing pointy 80s, like super pointy. They're like cat's eye, but like pointy, futuristic looking Max Headroom glasses.
Yes.
Does
They're
anybody
wonderful.
else know who Max Headroom is,
No.
or is it just me? Damn it, I'm so fucking old. So he shows up. She's explaining the closet thing to him. She's immediately like, I feel like right off the bat, we kind of get the sense that this movie is a lot about class.
Yeah. I forgot how much of a bitch she was in the beginning of this movie.
Oh my
She
gosh.
is. Like, I definitely
She's
forgot
terrible.
that.
I hate the word bitch, and she's called it a lot. And
She
even
is, yeah.
I called her that in my notes, and I'm like,
did?
why are we calling her this?
You said it out loud too.
I know.
But she is. And I wouldn't even say she's like, look, I think women who are strong and have opinions about things and like are leaders often get called a bitch, but she straight up is mean.
Yeah.
Like
She's
she
mean,
is
yeah.
fucking mean.
Yeah.
So I know bitch is the term to say that denigrates women, but she is fucking mean. I mean,
Yeah.
she really is. She's awful to him. She's awful to Andrew. She's awful to Grant, who that guy is also a jerk. But
Yeah, I mean,
she's
Grant's just
basically awful to everyone. Anyway, so she's walking around talking to him about wanting. He doesn't really know why he's there at first. So they go into the closet, and she's explaining how her closet is inadequate. I have no room for my shoes. I have no room for my lingerie. And she's like looking down at him with her
Can't get my
nose
lingerie out
pointed
of
at
the
him.
box.
Right. And she's like sniffing him like he's some kind of roadkill animal. Like she's very put off by his.
I would be sniffing him, but in a completely different way.
I
I'd be
know,
more
right?
like,
I don't even get me started about the scene where he's shirtless and eating pate. We'll get there.
Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that.
we'll get there.
We'll get
so
there.
many nipple flashes.
Don't worry. So she's explaining the closet. She's very mean about it, of course. She's very snooty. She's talking down him. She's saying things like, don't stand too close to me. Although he is walking rather close to her, I have to say. Right before she deeply gets into what she wants with the closet, Andrew appears with a enormous container of caviar. Like
This was my favorite part.
And she was like, oh, I almost had to wait.
I know. She has some of the best lines in this
She
movie.
straight up compares it to a dick. Like
No,
I
this
wrote
is-
this line down: hard, round, and ready to pop at the right moment.
Yeah.
Just burst in your mouth at like
Burst in your mouth.
precisely the
That's
right moment.
At the
Yeah.
right moment.
And she's
I
like
was
got her eyes closed.
Excuse me.
And I picked up on something.
What?
Russell had his tape measure out, and right when she said that, his tape measure retracted when she said burst at precisely the right moment. He was like, I feel like
But
that
she's
was
right.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
intentional.
Yeah, no, for sure. And she notices it too. Like she's looking at both of them and they're just kind of like sort of weirdly turned on by what she just said. Anyway, she calls him Carpenter. Like she doesn't even use his name. So he has 2 days to remodel the closet. She tells him he has 48 hours. And so that's our timeline at the beginning of the movie here is that he's got 2 days to remodel this closet to her liking. In the meantime, we get to see her sort of through his eyes. I think the wow moment is kind of, when we cut to the next scene and she's like got that long hat with the braid attached to it and she's wearing the black swimsuit where her butt cheeks are hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and we see the
It's
birthmark.
like nude in the back, except for a tiny triangle in her butt crack. It's like,
Hello,
Yeah.
it's my butt. I don't think I could sit on anything out in public with that kind of swimsuit on. You know?
I feel like the thing that you don't see that goes on behind the scenes is that whenever you sit down on anything, you're going to have the imprint of whatever you were sitting on, like,
cheeks.
permanently
Oh my God.
stuck into your butt
Oh my God,
cheeks.
that'd be amazing.
So you'd have to sit on like, I don't know, silk. I don't know. I don't know what you could sit on. Like you'd have to be turned over all day. I don't know. Anyway, so we see her
she was like laying like.
with the butt up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see the birthmark, which is going to come into play later.
I did not see that. I was just I was just noticing the tiny triangle of fabric. I
Well,
was like,
up
that
at
is
the
so
very
weird.
top of the buttocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
She has a strawberry shaped birthmark. So she's on the phone talking in French, which will also come into play later. And he's in the room sanding things and shirtless.
Is he shirtless or is he wearing a cut off
Well, is this
t-shirt?
where he's wearing shirtless? No, I have written down that he is. Okay, so she comes in and she's got the butt swimsuit on and he's looking at it but not looking at it, but like definitely looking at it. And he's shirtless and eating some kind of like crackers with pate.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
So he's like eating and she makes fun of him for eating with his
I
hands.
guess I didn't notice him at all. I was mostly transfixed with that swimsuit, but I'm not like attracted to women, but I guess I'm not attracted to Kurt Russell. Then I did not notice him being shirtless.
I was drinking it in.
Yeah.
Drinking in.
I was loving
The
every second of
shirtless.
that.
Yeah.
I was like, I would lick that pate right off your chest.
And he's very
Just
sweaty.
a little bit.
And she complains about him being sweaty, but I'm like, I'm cool with it.
And she walks out of the room and says like, try to control your bodily functions. I can't hear myself think.
Well, what happens is she's like making fun of him and is telling him that he needs to eat with a utensil because, monkeys eat with their hands or whatever. And that's what sets us apart from the animals. And he's like, yeah, so do opposable thumbs. And she's like, what was that? He's like, this is just my stomach. So I think that's what she's referring to. She's like, try to keep your bodily noises to yourself.
Which was
so I can
actually
hear myself think.
I watched the movie twice and I did not hear the opposable thumbs line, but that's actually a very clever line for him to just like shrug off as like I didn't actually say that.
I don't know if that was in the script or not. Apparently, Gary Marshall did let people improvise a little bit, so I don't know if that's like an improvised
I
moment.
watched this with the captions on because I ended up having to watch on my laptop and not my TV, and so I had the captions on, and the captions did not match what they were saying. So I feel like they
interesting.
improvised quite a bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very fascinating.
It like did not match a good portion of the time.
Wow, I'd be interested to see what the original script was.
Tidbit.
Tidbit, nice tidbit. I like that.
Thanks.
The more you know.
So they're not getting along. So here's where we get to the closet reveal. So she's now wearing the red thing. They're wearing a red thing. We've got like zebra striped red glasses on, right? Or red glasses? I don't
Red
know. She had a
glasses,
series
yeah.
of amazing sunglasses.
I know the ones with the glittery ones with the wings. Like that's all I wanted as a kid.
I would
All I
wear
ever
them
wanted.
now.
Yeah,
I would.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I would too.
I would. So he's finished with the closet. He brings her in to look at it. This is the first time we see him do that weird thing with his man tank where he like sticks his thumbs in the sleeves.
Yeah, and he like flashes his nipples at us from there. Oh, it's so great. I love it. Like,
Free the nipple.
man, that's like I feel like that's
My-
what I've done while really drunk and in a tank top, like at a frat house to flirt with somebody who's
Nice.
just like, "Hey, baby."
Oh my God.
They call it doing. They call it doing the dean.
Yeah,
That's
doing
what I
the
would
dean.
call it. Doing
Yeah.
that's the dean move.
Oh, God.
I thought you said doing the
Done the
D.
dean.
I thought she said D. I was like, Nicole, it's not doing the D.
Doing the dean.
That's something else.
Does that
Nicole.
sound cool? Is that cool? What I just said?
Okay, so the shoe rack is like amazing. It's like this.
I thought it was too.
I thought it was so impressive. I was like, I want that so bad.
So her problem was she had too many shoes and not enough space. So he created this thing where you crank it and the shoes like kind of separate, like the box of shoes separates and like
They, like,
more shoes come
disappear from the
out. And
back,
it's like
yeah.
this rotating carnival of shoes.
It's very ingenious, and her problem with it is it's made of oak.
right.
And not cedar.
Because everyone knows that the closets are made of cedar. Because of the
How
moths.
dare he?
It really
Because
is
of
his
the
fault.
Well, in any case, they had a very big miscommunication about the materials that were being used in this
Yeah.
closet. And
Well, what I liked about this bit is that it seemed really plausible that someone could assume that they're supposed to be made of cedar and not tell that person could not know and just pick a wood. Like, I feel like a lot of these 80s comedies don't have plausible plot points.
right. And I think we again see sort of an indication of how entitled she is, where she's just basically like, I don't want cedar. I wanted cedar and you should have read my mind and now I won't pay for it. And he's basically like, fine, I'll redo the closet, but you have to pay for the materials. Like, I have to buy new stuff. And she's like, I'm not going to pay for that because, and we know that she can afford it. So it's not an issue of whether she can afford to pay for the closet or not. At no point in this movie do we get any sense that the Statons are poor or not even or in hurting for money in any way. So
I don't
it's
know,
the
that
principle
yacht
of the
was
thing.
awful small.
Oh, you were not impressed with the yacht. Think
No.
about how many lobsters you could fit on that yacht.
So many lobsters. Oh my God, they could crawl all over it. It'd be so cute. And then I'd eat them all and it'd be so buttery. So much butter.
So they have a big fight. Oh,
Something about bitch, like
he
rich
says
bitch.
she's like bored.
he says he references something that they said that he was listening to. He's like, well, we don't know anything about cedar closets in Elk Snout. You're lucky that I am housebroken. And when she finds out, when she hears that, then she feels very upset that he's been listening, and she's like, you're
Very
fired.
violated, even though she was screaming it from the deck of the boat. That he was
Just
working
outside the
on.
window.
I do think this whole fight really does walk a line. Like, this was kind of the first time that I'm watching the movie where I was thinking to myself, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys didn't, I'm sure you guys know this, Sarah and Liz, but Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell are a couple, and they have been. Okay, well, then I'd like to know what you think about this, Liz, because I was wondering to myself, if I did not know that they were a couple in life, in real life, would I find this fight a little bit more upsetting? Because his proximity to her is very close, and like, I mean, I've seen much more like threatening fights, but he does get in her face, and he says some very like gross things about her.
It honestly, it didn't bother me as much because the characterization to me seemed so over the top for the both of them.
Okay.
Like, she was so entitled and just almost like a petulant child.
Yeah.
Whereas he was so over the top blue collar that I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so we're like veering on farce in terms of everything. Like, even this
Okay.
fight is just over the top.
Right.
And I honestly was very much cheering for him in a way because she
Okay.
had been so difficult. And then
Yeah.
when they cut to
Yeah.
the crew downstairs, like, yes, like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
bitched her out, fuck
Right.
yeah. Like,
yeah.
no, I mean, it didn't bother me. And it's interesting to hear that they were in a relationship at the time when they
They're
were
still
filming
in a
that?
relationship.
They're still in a relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they-
isn't
I don't know.
Kate Hudson, their daughter.
Kate Hudson
Kate
is
Hudson is their daughter.
well.
Yeah, and then I
Kate
believe
Hudson is
Oliver
Goldie
Hudson is as
Hawn's
well.
daughter with someone else.
I was upset when he got like in her face and said something sexual. Like,
Well, he's like, I'm hard up, but I'm not that hard up.
yeah, and then like I don't know. He said something like I'd be fine if you're like calling her a bitch and like that kind of stuff. But he got like really close to her, like he was about to like attack her or like force himself on her, and I didn't like that. No matter how much of a bitch she was.
Okay.
But when he said he was hard up, I assumed he meant hard up for money. not so much sexually. Was it? Is it meant to be
Well,
a sexual?
I
connotation?
definitely took that as sexual because I think she was like,
She said
"Don't
something.
you?" She's like, "Don't touch me," and he's like, I'm maybe hard up, but I'm not that hard up.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, which I guess
I thought he
indicates I'm
meant
not
like
going
hard
to touch.
up, as in like I'm like hopped up, like I'm angry.
No, hard.
No, I definitely thought he meant
No,
That's what
something.
that-
that was what I took it as, but you know that I frequently do this and just like
Well,
make up
I
meanings.
Well, no,
for
'cause
honestly,
I mean-
Hillary, I
I
can't
thought he was talking
imagine.
about-
I thought you were more inclined to take everything sexually.
not overtly sexual things, Nicole.
Okay,
Then I'm just
okay.
like, oh, you're talking about that little penguin over there. I got you. I'm sorry. He was
Overboard,
just
if you will.
an idiot for sitting on the edge of a boat during an argument. Like he was fighting with her, and then he was like, "Well, I'm not leaving," and he sits down
Right.
on the edge of a boat
And then leans
Who
back
does
slightly.
that?
Like
yeah,
he's just hoping to be pushed over.
Yeah,
I know.
It's like he was asking for you guys.
I am
They
sorry.
were setting him up for the stunt, guys.
Well, the next scene is her on the phone with her mom.
Yeah, and she's talking about being premenstrual,
Edith.
and her mother says, "Just go straight back to bed."
For 2 days.
I know.
I
I,
wish
was
I
like,
could.
"Oh,
I would
God,
love
I
to go
wish
to bed
that
for
was
2
my
days.
life."
That'd be beautiful.
So she's on the phone with Katherine Hellman, who's amazing. Katherine Hellman, I just want to point out, Katherine Hellman's the set design in her house is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like the patterns and the curtains, and it's just like somebody went in there in the art department and just packed it full of as much fabric and floral patterns as they
Overwhelming is a good
possibly
word
could.
for it. It was just like it was too much, and they showed like inserts of different like pieces of the set design. Too.
It almost felt like to me they took the set from one of the boat rooms and just took everything out and just like put a bunch of patterns in there and a couch, and like that was like her house. Like it looked like another room on the boat to me. Am I the only one who
Also-
felt that
It
way?
did.
No, I agree with you. That's
Yeah.
But also, this scene is the first time it passes the Bechdel test.
Oh, I'm
'Cause
glad
she
somebody was
talks-
watching that because
She talks to her, and even though they do talk about a man, sometimes there are a few lines where they don't. And
Well, she's like,
the
"I am
mom
not
talks
a
to the
bitch."
maid about something else.
dog.
but the maid doesn't say anything.
No.
Okay.
No,
But
just
she has a name.
continues feeding the
Inga.
dog.
She has a name Inga, but Inga doesn't say anything because they'd have to pay Inga probably like
Damn it.
$50 more a day or something to say something. But she's like Inga's like feeding the dog treats, and she's like, Inga, you don't shove it down her throat, you place it on her tongue.
On Shiitake's tongue.
That's right.
Her
The dog's name is
Shiitake.
Shiitake, and she's got like a,
Oh my
a Shih
God.
Tzu or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
Also,
Lhasa
I
Apso or something
want
like
to
that.
live that dog's life. Like I just want to sit on a
God.
cushion while somebody puts
somebody feed
pate
you
on my
treats.
tongue.
That
all
dog
day.
had stuff on its head all the time. Just
Like
like
bows. I think
stuff.
Hillary would put up with that if
Yeah.
somebody just fed her treats.
I
all
wear
day.
sloppy buns every single day. Like pin something in that and then feed me treats. That sounds amazing.
But also, she mentions to her mother that Grant wants to have children. And Joanna's like, what should I do? And her mom,
have a baby, you won't be the baby anymore.
such horrible advice.
well, I get the sense that she doesn't seem to want to have
Yeah.
children. But I think Katherine Hellman's thing is that she's maybe not wanting her daughter to grow up. I don't know. I guess that's maybe.
I think it's that she's just like, I know you are high maintenance. Something else will be more important than you.
That's a good
if
point.
you bring life
yeah,
into this world.
that's a good point.
Go ahead, Liz.
I was gonna say, or maybe the fact that their marriage is based around her need for attention. That if something else was taking over the attention, then
Yeah.
she would have no purpose for being there because she
Yeah.
couldn't take care of a baby. She would hire someone to do it.
That's true. She would have
Exactly,
a
yeah.
nanny. She wouldn't do anything. Yeah, that's for sure.
so her purpose is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Wouldn't be able to wear those bathing suits anymore. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
That butt is never going to look the same after having a baby. Now we've seen Joanna's world. So now we get to go into Dean's world. He pulls up to the house. It's a fucking dump.
Yeah.
It is a falling apart. There's like 10 cars,
It
just
looks like
dead cars on the lawn.
house that's been like just disregarded for
Guys,
years. Like
guys, I lived in a house like that for 12 years.
It looks like a house that would be haunted by bootleggers. It's just
Yes.
like
Oh,
falling
I would
apart.
live
in that
God.
house. A house haunted by bootleggers? That sounds fun as shit.
Like they party pretty hard with you.
just like every night whiskey out of a barrel.
Yes. So they haven't been living there very long. They're still unpacking
How is
their
it
boxes.
such a nightmare if they haven't been lit?
Sarah, look around you at my house.
How does he already have a full business plan with Bad Billy Pratt if he's
Well,
just
I think
moved?
I think him and Billy have known each other since high school.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he lived a few towns over. I don't know. I don't know.
Either way.
I know exactly how. I mean, I only have 3 children, but I can only imagine with 4 children how like quickly 4 children and Dean, 4 children and a husband who doesn't clean up. I can imagine how. I mean, just look around you, like totally on purpose.
Guys who listen to the podcast,
This
Nicole's
is totally-
always talking about her house being a mess and dirty and gross, and it's not.
Have you seen the first floor? It's mostly boxes and piles of laundry.
I can vouch. It's very clean.
You have 3 children. It looks like 3 children live here.
I mean, we stuffed everything in the corner before you guys came here. Like I have
I've
lots
seen
of drawers.
so much worse, Nicole.
So at Dean's, principal's coming out of the house. She has she has been TP'd by the boys. So this is kind of our introduction to the kids. They're monsters, apparently. They've TP'd the principal. She's basically like, you know, and this was the 1980s when you could leave your children at home with no supervision. So there's like 4 children between the ages of, I would say, I don't know what, like 14. How old would you say Travis is? 12, 13?
13?
Oh, I think they did say
I'd
he's
say
13.
13. Yeah.
So between 13 and 5. I think Joey's 5.
He was
We find out
5?
the Dean's wife had died 3 years ago.
He doesn't seem that upset about it. Like
He seemed upset to me.
he was like, he didn't like, I don't know, throughout the entire movie, he didn't talk about her. He didn't seem upset that he was
That's not
alone.
what the movie was about, though.
That's
either.
true.
I know, but it just seemed heartless.
And I do think he seemed upset that he was alone.
Yeah, I would say the subtext to me was that maybe even he hasn't really dated, or I mean, I got the sense that maybe he hasn't really even had, it didn't seem like he'd really had very many relationships in the last couple of years either. Like he's mostly just been working. I mean, that's again, I'm projecting that, but I feel like the subtext of the movie was that he's been kind of alone for the last 3 years.
I guess there's something about Kurt Russell that just doesn't, or the way he was depicting the character that was just very not deep and not thoughtful. And so I
would agree with that assessment generally.
Generally, I
also
would agree with that.
Have another theory about him.
Okay.
His character.
Yeah. I felt like the way he said she died 3 years ago was like more, I guess that it's also been 3 years, and I'm not saying that you need to get over something in 3 years, but I got the sense that he was saying something he's used to saying. Like they're like, where's their mother? And he's like, she died 3 years ago. Like this is a thing that he now has to tell everyone in town, and maybe it's not something he likes to talk about. I would imagine he doesn't talk about her. Well, for one thing, he's pretending like Annie is his wife for most of the movie, but also it seems to me like that's not something you'd want to talk about. So let's talk about back on the yacht. Grant is watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Joanna's in the bed. Joanna realizes that she's missing her ring, so she goes up to the deck to get the ring back.
And does not sit down, but stands on top of a chair.
and she's in
With
heels.
heels on.
Logically.
on a boat that's driving way too fast with a drunk / asleep driver.
Is he drunk?
I don't
didn't
know. He
notice.
just has his feet in the wheel and is just like
Going back and forth.
Oh, I guess I didn't notice that.
Yeah. He just like had his feet on them and he was like kicking one up and down and up and down. And just like the boat was just like tottering back and
God.
forth.
I somehow missed that.
The wrong way to drive.
And then
the
she
boat.
slips overboard. I don't know why I
She
said that
does. She
weird.
slips overboard. Also, I'd like to point out, oddly, an odd equalizer here. At this moment in the film, I realized while they were watching Robin Leach that Grant and Joanna are probably also Trump voters. So they have something in common with Elk Snout.
They're all for Trump.
I'm just guessing. Sure. Just guessing.
I was not aware that you could get amnesia from hitting the water.
Yeah, I was shocked about that too.
I was
Apparently,
like, yeah, really?
you can
That is
get
the
amnesia
very
from
implausible
shock of the
plot
water.
point of this.
Well, and I think they say it's either from the water or the shock of the garbage boat that hits her.
Well, they said from hitting her head in the garbage scow, which they said
was a
scow
scow.
several times. Does anybody know what a scow
Fuck is a
is?
scow?
Not at all.
I was thinking it was something like a scooper. Is it like a scooper?
Garbage scooper.
A garbage scooper. I'm
I
not
just
sure what a
pictured,
scow
like,
is.
garbage truck, but on the ocean.
Garbage
Me
boat.
too. Yeah, a garbage boat.
A wide-beamed sailing dinghy. A flat-bottom boat with sloping ends used as a lighter and in dredging and other harbor services.
Oh.
Harbor services like garbage scooping.
Garbage pickup.
Often used to haul bulk freight.
Okay,
Like a
so
barge.
it's like a barge.
Yeah.
So it's a garbage barge. But I guess
Garbage
but I guess garbage barge is not really good for
Garbage.
screenwriting. So they
It's a
probably
Dutch
use
word,
that.
apparently.
So apparently she's got amnesia.
yes.
She's awful to the reporter, saying something about her hair looking like a bad wig.
Grant sees her on TV.
Grant sees her on TV.
And then he goes to Elk Snout.
Right. He goes to the hospital.
Elk Cove Hospital.
Goes to the hospital to get her, and then as he's watching her through a two-way mirror, arguing with the doctor and insulting the other person in the room with him, he decides
The police officer asks him if it's her, and he's like, no.
never seen her before in my life.
total stranger.
Yeah, so he leaves. So Joanna doesn't know who she is. Her husband leaves her there and decides to go party on the yacht. And
Tofuti.
Well, we haven't gotten to Tofuti Klein. We haven't gotten there yet. They end up putting her in the psych ward, I think, right? Because she's complaining that she wants her own room, and they decide
The best line there though is, "Here you go, a private room where you'll be safer." We'll all be safer. I was like, yes.
She also says, I don't know who I am, but I'm sure I have a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. So she's got kind of a sense of herself, of her snootiness, but she doesn't quite know what her name is or anything else about herself. So meanwhile, at the bowling alley in Elk Snout, Dean is, helping the bowling alley fix one of the lanes, and he sees
another news broadcast.
He sees another broadcast by K-Rab. He sees Joanna's face there on the TV. And that's when he gets the bright idea.
And then, for the first time in this movie, not the last, he puts on his fancy outfit, which is the red and black plaid
corduroy jacket,
button-down shirt with a black tie with a corduroy jacket. Yeah,
the one.
And then he goes down there to kidnap himself abroad.
Yep, he goes down there to kidnap himself a debutante. So he's got the bright idea of taking a woman with a brain injury, and he's going to pretend to be her husband.
I pick you, Pikachu.
And make her into his slave to make back that $600.
Which he even calls her at one point that we'll get to, that I have a big problem with.
Right.
So he calls her Annie.
Mm-hmm. Well, he goes down. First thing, I feel like we need to talk about this panties scene.
Yeah. Oh God, the panties scene. They're just sitting there playing with them. Her
the only thing,
these panties.
Well, the only thing she was wearing, I guess, everything else came off in the water. They picked her up and she was fully nude except for this pair of thongs with her initials on them.
Yeah.
JS.
Which every grown woman has their initials sewn into their underpants.
I know I have them so that I don't lose them at my slumber parties. Otherwise, my mom would be so mad.
And he gets there, and a police officer or whoever it is pulls them out of a little envelope and is like, "These are her personal." And he's like stretching them out, and they're like, they're both like, "Hey, look at these panties," and they're like touching them. And I was like, "Eyes, I am so grossed out right now."
The only way this scene could have gotten worse is if he was like, "Are these your wife's panties? Give them a sniff. Let me know."
I know, right?
That's the only way
they
that
were
scene
like
could have been
moments
worse.
away from sniffing the
It
panties.
really was. It was
Moments
like moments away. So bad.
So
that's how you know who they belong to,
right? Doesn't smell like my wife. Must be a different JS.
No, that's anywhere.
Well, I mean, they were like fully touching the panties for like 5 minutes. I was like, listen, guys, the prop work is too much. Put the panties back in the envelope, okay? I can't even concentrate on what you're saying right now.
I wonder if they were just so expensive. They wanted to get the most use on camera as
They're
they
like,
could.
the art department was like, make sure you hold the panties for at least 5 minutes. We worked on those real hard.
We spent a long time with that.
All right. So Dean claims to be her husband. He claims that her name is Annie Prophet. She immediately is like, fucking, I don't know you. Like she in her bones is like, I don't know you. You are not my husband. Get out of my face.
Yeah,
she even says in her bones.
Right.
She was like, don't you think there'd be some spark of recognition? Like, I don't know this man.
And they hate her, so they want to get her out of there.
Yeah.
And then Dean grabs her and kisses her forcefully, which is something that has happened in a lot of movies that we saw last year.
They just let it happen, too. That's the worst part. It's like there's doctors and cops all around them.
Well, there doesn't seem to be any vetting procedure whatsoever. I mean, at one point...
IDs her off her butt cheek. There's no vetting process.
Well,
here.
at one point, her, not the doctor, nobody else, she demands some kind of proof. Mm-hmm. And of course, we know from an earlier scene that he has seen this strawberry shaped birthmark, right? Yes. On the top of her butt cheek because she was wearing the thong swimsuit. And he's like, well, I don't, like, the doctor's like, yeah, I mean, if it was up to me, I would just, put a bow on her and send her off to you right now, but I need to have some proof. So he's like, well, she's got this strawberry shaped birthmark at the top of her. And so she overhears this, and she goes behind the TV and she lifts up, I guess she's not wearing underpants, I presume, and lifts up her gown and looks, and they're like,
voila,
high-fiving each other because that's all the proof that they need to send her home with this man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I please just mention that my biggest issue with this scene is that like he could have done the right thing and like gone in there and been like, yo, dudes, her name is Joanna Staten. She like lives on this yacht. That asshole was in here earlier as her husband. Like, let me go talk to her. I met her this weekend. I'm the only person in town who knows her.
But this is a great opportunity for free labor.
I
Why
know,
would you pass that up?
But like the opportunity for free labor versus like help woman regain her memory. Maybe she rewards you with giving you the money she owes you.
Well,
and like
that doesn't seem to be his consideration. Like he doesn't see her as a human being. Okay, so how do we feel about what he did? I mean, because basically he takes a woman with a brain injury and he claims that that's his wife and he's going to bring her home and enslave her. I mean, that's what he's doing.
Well, I know they're going to fall in love because that's the way it's being set up. But that doesn't mean
So you're getting
I
ready
like
for
it.
romance is what you're saying.
Yes. I don't want there to be romance, but I'm saying like that's
But you can't
what's
help but
being
be swept
set
up in it is what you're saying.
No. I'm saying that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Of course. Liz?
Having not seen or heard anything about this movie before, the second that he shows up and he's like, she's my wife, I was like, surely they're not gonna send her home with him. And then they do. And the more I watch, the more I'm like, this is so messed up, y'all.
so messed up.
Do you guys know how fucked up this is?
Right, like this poor woman, we'll get to the details later, but
Right.
they put her through so much.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly awful. I mean, it's basically every day of my life, only I don't have a brain injury,
You
so
made
I have
this
no
choice.
excuse.
You made the choice.
So is this where
Chris's 2-word review of this movie is ethically horrible, by
It
the
is
way.
ethically
He
horrible.
Chris, my husband's basic feelings about this movie is ethically horrible.
I think another 2-word thing would be basically rape or like essentially rape.
We'll get there. There is a point at which my husband and I had a very in-depth debate over whether or not we'll get there. But
I got
yes,
some strong feelings about that.
I was gonna say,
about the love scene. Okay, so
if you want to call it a love scene
or whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
The multiple dissolves of doing it in the bed, doing it on the floor. Okay, so we'll get there. Okay, so they go home. He makes a ride in the back of the truck. The dogs are in the cab. She's in the back of the truck dressed in...
It says Elk Cove waist on it. And it's the same jumpsuit
and
that
she
the
has
garbage
a
man was
rope
wearing earlier.
tied around her waist.
Yes.
Right. Because I guess she can't take the hospital gown home with her, and she didn't have anything else but the thong, which they don't give her back. They give it to Dean.
Yeah.
In the envelope.
He needs to sniff them. Make sure.
Oh yeah, he put it
them
in the glove compartment.
Right. He
didn't
does put in the glove, which is where you should put panties that you don't want anybody to find.
Yeah.
In the secret glove box. So now we get our first look at the inside of the house. It is disgusting. There's like trash on the floor, just shit everywhere.
Looks pretty much like my apartment.
It looks pretty much like my house on the reg, I would say.
Well, this is why you don't come to my house, because I don't
More
even clean up
accurately,
for
I think it
anyone.
looks very much like the inside of my minivan, which everyone knows is a landfill.
That's true. It does look like the inside of your minivan. You are 100% right on that, and I'll give you that one.
And I bet it has that weird banana smell too.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Sure.
Where you know there's a banana somewhere, but you're not really sure where
where.
it is or what state of decomposition it's in.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not even sure what color to look for at this point.
Like, I don't know. Am I looking for like part of a banana? Am I looking for like mold that used to be a banana? I don't know.
But he shows her
banana
around, and when he
shaped
gets
mold.
to the bedroom, he says, that's the old magic room. Got a lot of miles on that mattress there, huh? Later. And I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a line of gross being walked here. Like, I feel like this should bother me more, but back to the house. So he's taking her around. This is when we get to meet the kids, which frankly, to be honest with you, is what bothers me most. Is not even so much what happens with her, which, I know everyone can, crucify me over this. A woman is being held against her will. Yes, I get that. But the worst thing is that these kids, to me, because I'm a mom, is these kids whose mother has died are having to now lie that this woman is their mother, and they're having this woman brought into their lives as who's kind of standing as their mother. And so I think that is the part of the movie that about what he does that bothers me the most, frankly, is the involvement of the kids.
did we mention there's 4 of them?
There's 4 of them. We've got Travis, or as Annie likes to call him, Roy.
Right. Greg and Charlie the
Okay,
twins.
see, I did not know their fucking names. I just
His
kept
name
calling
was
them
Greg.
twins in my notes.
I just wrote them down because I was like, oh my god, they have names.
She
But
calls
they're
them
twins.
twin. Oh, twin.
Oh, twin.
Twin.
So which one is the one that invents things? Is
I
it
don't know
Greg
who they
or
are. I
Charlie?
just
One of
know-
them is an actor and one of them invents things.
I want to say Charlie's the one that invents things.
Yeah, and I
could
want to
be
say
thought that was
Greg
the
is
actor.
the actor.
Is it the actor?
I thought
Okay, well
Greg
they're
was the
twins
actor.
and they're not.
Anyway.
And one of my favorite lines in this movie is when she's like, "They don't look like twins," and and he's like, "Well, they're not identical twins, obviously." And one of the twins says to the other one, "Yeah, because if we were, I'd look like a shithead." Because this was in the '80s when kids this was like Goonies and where kids
Yeah,
could
these
just
kids
say
cursed.
anything.
And I was
In the '80s, kids cursed.
Every time that a kid curses in a movie, I'm like, what are their parents? Where are their parents?
Although that big one just needed a hefty slap across the face. Like,
Travis,
I kind of
Yeah.
like Travis.
he never improved. His
He-
grades
No.
kept slipping. He was always looking at
But
porno
he
mags.
knew that he
Yeah.
needed help. That's the important thing. He said, I need discipline. So he
Yeah.
knew he needed help.
I know, and that discipline was a just swift smack across the face.
Cut to the first thing on her to-do list, which is to make them dinner. And
Prepare an entire chicken.
legs,
apparently.
feet and all. Like
Feet
that
and
thing
all,
had
yeah.
feet on it.
Yeah.
feet, head, everything.
I was so
Yeah.
uncomfortable at her smushing the feet and the legs and because
I
have
was
a bird.
concerned about
it was
salmonella.
so
and
funny.
the-
I was real worried about the
this girl's a
salmonella.
mess.
Yeah, I was like, that's not how you cook a
Well,
chicken.
she doesn't know. She's like, it feels like I've never done this before. And she's like putting whole carrots in there.
I prepared and handled raw food.
My
favorite.
They're of course very mocking as well. And by the way, we haven't mentioned this, but Joey is sitting at the table eating Hershey's sauce with a straw.
But
Like
I don't think it's
Hershey's
a straw. I think it's
chocolate
a kebab.
syrup.
I think it's a kebab skewer.
Yeah, he's just like
not
dipping it in
drinking
there
it. He
and
was
just
dipping
like
it in
eat
and
and just licking
licking
the
it.
chocolate off the end of it.
The
She
two
burns
boys,
her hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, she does. She
And
burns her hand.
I know this is like really gross, but there was something ejaculatory about the way that they were like spraying her with
Wow,
the.
I did not pick
did
up on
not.
that at all.
Yeah,
Think of
since
that.
they were
Nope.
children, I didn't.
I know.
Really.
Well, they're children, but it was just like the look
So-
on her face, and it was just like,
Extinguisher bukkake.
yeah, it was just like there was something about it that was just like,
Hashtag extinguisher.
Extinguisher bukkake.
oh god.
So cut to the bowling alley.
This entire scene, I wrote this.
Tons of rape
I wrote this
jokes.
entire scene down because every single line was disgusting. We don't have to
No, please
read
go
it.
ahead. Let's go. Just give us the choice. Give us the highlights.
the best
Can you read this with me, Hillary?
Yeah.
We're gonna have
Hopefully
dramatic
you can
reading.
read my
dramatic
handwriting.
reading. Who's playing Bad Billy Pratt?
I'll play Billy. Can you read these?
Yeah, I can
This
read
is a
them.
feminine mistake podcast.
How's
first.
your debutante?
Oh, she's one lousy cook.
How long are you gonna keep her?
$25 a day. I figure a little wifey
Pooh.
can work off what she owes me in a little over a month.
It's your first night with her, huh?
That was shockingly accurate. All right, well, here's a good
Of
time for me to
whiskey.
mention this. Like, I should be super bothered by this. So this is what happens next: is that he pretends to be drunk and like wants and like gets on, like he's gonna get on top of her and like they're gonna, and I should be bothered by his behavior.
Yep, you should.
I don't know if I'm just really entranced by the mullet. I don't really know, but
Nicole's like, well, if
I
you climbed
think
on
the
top
way
of me, brain injury.
maybe
I
I've been gaslit by our president, but I feel like what he does doesn't match up with what he says. So like he says that like he jokes around with her about that stuff, like and he jokes with his friends about that stuff, but then never like I feel like the movie is very careful about crossing a line. You know what I mean? Like she's always sleeping on the couch or he's always sleeping on the couch until they make until they have that date. I'm just saying, like, I think the thing that
Which
keeps
still,
me from
once
feeling
we get to that date, I will
We'll get
have
there.
some things
Yeah.
to say about that.
But I
I'm
agree
not
with what
a-
you're saying.
yeah, I think the thing that
Yeah.
keeps me from feeling like wholly disgusted with this and is necessary for this movie to work is that even though he puts her through the ringer and treats her like crap, which is what he's doing, I guess, in revenge for that like 2 days he had to spend with her. I mean, it doesn't really seem fair, but whatever. He never like I never feel like it gets rapey. That's all I'm just saying.
But he's in his underwear and climbs on top of her.
But
Yeah,
he
that
had
is
every
gross.
opportunity. He had every opportunity to take advantage of her, but he chose not to. And I kind of like
Right, but I think the whole point of this scene was fear and power. And that
good
is
point.
what he gets
Fair.
out of it. You know,
and he does take advantage of her, just not sexually.
Right. And he does climb on top of her and try to kiss her and put her in this position
And if
where
she had
feels
kissed him
like,
back, would he have done it?
And that's the thing is like also a woman put in that position. I mean, like when you're in a situation where it's like, I might get raped right now. I might just have a man force himself on me right now.
And
in a
she
bed
thinks
that
he
he's
claims
really drunk.
is
And
mine,
she
and
changed.
thinks
Like
he's
if
really
you
drunk.
looked at her face and like when she was Joanna and she was around him, she was like, no, like she was like pissed. But in this scene, she looked scared. Like this guy could rape me right now.
Yeah.
I don't ever think it was being played like that. I'm not saying that the reality of the situation couldn't have been that, but like I think the acting moment that was happening was, ew, gross, please don't touch me.
I was going to say, I did not register fear.
No,
when
I
was
did not
watching her
either.
face,
I didn't
'cause I looked
register
for that.
fear. I registered like avoidance.
Maybe that's me like projecting my own issues
Yeah.
on it then.
I'm just saying,
because,
that's what I
I've been in
registered.
situations like that before where it was just like, oh, you're not going to sleep with me. Get the fuck out.
Like she
And
didn't
it was
look
just like,
she
it
didn't
was
look
a fearful
annoyed or
moment.
grossed out. She looked scared to me.
I also feel like he never had any intention of sleeping with her. I also feel like what he says to Billy about her is male posturing. Like I feel like he never intended
You're
to
using
sleep
the
with
locker
her.
room talk argument right now.
I
Nicole.
know,
You're
but the
using locker
difference
room talk
is,
as defense
but the
for
difference
that.
is he like I feel like in the other case, like that guy fully has a history of sexual assault,
Yeah.
and this guy is a movie character who, based on what we see as of the slice of his life, which is all we have of him, he never at any point actually tries to cross the line and like he doesn't touch her, like he doesn't like he does that thing at the hospital, which unfortunately was very common, that forced kiss thing. We've seen it in multiple movies. I'm not excusing it, I'm just saying in the context of this time period, I feel like they're always careful to stay on one side of the line, and I think it made it less creepy for me. And I feel like I should be more bothered by it than I am, but
I feel like
at no
everyone
point
has-
did I ever feel like he was going to actually do anything to her, I guess.
I felt the same way.
Yeah, I felt the same way, but I also feel like if I were her, I would not appreciate him being in his underwear climbing on top.
Oh,
probably.
I
no,
agree.
yeah.
And yeah, no. But I don't think that there was, even in the acting, I didn't see any fear being played. Okay. So now we get the dream sequence, where she has this dream about being at a rich party.
On New Year's Eve, specifically.
I think it's telling that her husband is nowhere to be found in this dream.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the
Ken doll looking guys.
confetti in her face. She's just like looking up with her eyes and just
Oh yeah, when she gets
getting
the
covered in
confetti.
it.
Yeah, the confetti when she's like choking on the confetti. That's some good comedic acting right there.
Yeah. That's
Some good
comedy.
stuff. So
Yeah,
he wakes her up. It's time to get the kids off to school.
And she wakes up saying help, help also, which I thought was really upsetting.
Yeah, that is. I guess that's
She just like wakes up and he's like splashing water on her and she just goes, help, help. And I was like, oh my God, you
Wow.
poor woman.
That's what I say to myself every
and
morning
then
when I
he
get up.
says,
Me too.
The kids need lunches, and she's like, I don't like. They need to go to school, and she's like, I don't care if they go to school, and he's like, well, I guess they'll stay here all day with you, and she's like, oh God, and puts up and makes
what I love about
horrible PB and mayo sandwiches.
Oh, disgusting.
Gross. And if the bread was falling apart. It was just
She's like pouring M&Ms on top of it. It's like so gross.
pressing them into the peanut butter.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of indentured servitude, now we go to the hot single "Jim Dandy to the Rescue"
Yes.
and the Jim Dandy housework montage, or worst housework ever montage.
It's basically how I
Jim
clean.
Dandy
though.
to
Like
the
I
rescue.
kinda
I've
clip
had that
some-
song stuck in my head for days
Oh,
now.
me too. Me too.
Jim
And it
Dandy
reminds
to
me
the
of Mr. Mom and Baby Boom.
Oh, it
Yeah.
very much reminded me of Mr. Mom. We had a similar montage in Mr. Mom.
And we had a similar montage in Baby Boom too.
Did we?
Yeah, a montage of her
Like
like
making applesauce.
Oh, making
No,
applesauce,
no,
but not
no, but the-
cleaning. I don't think.
but doing house chores, doing like house repairs and
Maybe.
like all
I
that
don't
stuff.
remember that. I remember the applesauce montage, but this especially reminded me of Mr. Mom because it was like a person, and maybe this is that montage too. I don't recall that one, but a person who doesn't know how to do housework doing housework and how miserable it is. This is basically an insight into my morning. I don't chop wood, but we do see her chopping wood with a chainsaw, right?
Yeah.
and having a really hard time with
And
it.
I work in tree work.
Is that how you chop wood, though?
No,
Is
not
that-
typically. Typically,
Okay.
you use a wood maul or like an axe.
We see another possessed washing machine.
Yes.
Is it a washing machine or is it a sink?
No, it's definitely a
Washes
washing
the
machine.
because that's why
It's
he
just like an old outhousey kind of washing machine.
Yeah. It's her birthday present later.
And then we kind of go into, from this montage, we go directly into her sort of comatose
She's just catatonic.
on
Catatonic,
the
yeah.
armchair. The
And the
catatonic
kids are
on the
making fun
armchair.
of her, and they're like, at least she stopped going boo 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 boo, and then like
She
he,
needs
like,
food, and they're just throwing popcorn at her face.
This is fun.
Basically, that's what I look like at 6 p.m.
No.
I mean, that's what I look like every day at 6 p.m. Chris comes home and I'm like, bup, 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 bup.
and then this is the next thing she says, like he dumps
Well,
dumps
he
her.
dunks her in the water to
and
shock
she's
her back
like,
into.
My life is like death. My children are the spawn of hell, and you're the devil.
Sometimes I feel like that at 6 p.m. also. I definitely feel that way after a long day home with the kids.
That's what I say to myself late at night before I go to bed.
My life is hell. My children are spawns of Satan, and you are the devil.
Is that you talking
I
to
say
the
it.
ghost?
Yeah, no, I say it to myself in the mirror.
No.
Mostly.
Well, one of the I think one of the important things she says here though is I don't belong here. I feel it. Don't you think I feel it?
And she's so unhappy in this moment. It makes me really sad. He like kidnapped an unhappy woman to make her unhappy someplace else. That's a real
That's
bummer.
accurate. It's accurate. And to make his life and the life of his children better.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse it. Even
No,
though
I
you
just
bring
mean
the
like
kids into it.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that, you know.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Now we do get a turn at some point in that, and we can talk about how we feel about that. But
During the scene, he stands next to the closet doing the
Yes.
thing with his shirt.
not yet.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
where I
This
was.
is when it happens. Yeah.
Okay.
And
yeah,
she's
yeah,
like, she's like, this looks.
Yeah, she like has flashes to him back in the
Right,
other
well, she's-
closet, but it's his nipples that really bring her back.
Yeah, the nipples
She's
are
been
really
in
what
that
trigger
closet
it.
before, but once he starts doing the nipple tease,
That's
The
when
nipples-
the harps come out.
The nipples trigger. Oh, right. The harps that letting us know that she's remembering it, and we see the shoes, and we see him
and
doing
lots
that
of the
thing.
nipples in multiple locations.
Well, we see
I
him
will
doing
s-
that thing with the tank again.
True. And I will say when they first started doing the harps, I was like, there's no way this is the moment she falls in love with him. Like,
Oh
this
God!
can't
Oh,
be
you
that
thought this
moment.
was the mom?
Yes,
God.
well, just because with the way that the music was like crescendoing, I was like, this is building up to something, and it sounds like it's gonna be a romance.
Well, they keep cutting back to her, like
But
looking at the
then-
closet and looking at his nipples and looking at the closet.
right.
Looking at his nipples.
And
Yeah.
then she gets like,
These nipples are familiar. So meanwhile, back on SS Trump, Grant is partying with some starlets.
I'm so virile. I'm so rich.
I know, like,
Dances around.
which I imagine is what Donald Trump says to
Good
himself
for
every
you.
morning,
Yeah.
right? Tofuti Klein is there. This one character with the strangest name.
He
And
says
he's-
a bunch of times.
and he was like,
I love tofuti ice cream.
Tofuti.
What
Have y'all
is
had that?
tofuti
Tofuti
ice
cream.
cream?
Oh, it's ice cream made of tofu, girl.
Ew, that
What?
sounds gross.
Yum.
Sounds gross.
It's delicious.
Lactose
Get it
free.
at Kroger. Lactose free.
Don't like it.
I just
No,
like the sound of the word tofuti.
Tofuti.
Well, anyway, there's a starlet named Tofuti Klein on the ship, and he says her name a lot. Joanna's mom calls. She wants to know where Joanna is. Grant makes up some excuses.
She went
Joanna's
out
mom's not really buying it.
shopping.
Apparently, she's been culling for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
And,
Which is the only sense of time that we've gotten.
right. So
Yes, thus far.
she's been, Joanna or Annie, which, by the way, I've seen this movie thousands of times, and I just made the connection that Annie is short for Joanna.
Me too.
When I watched it this time, like this time for the show. Anyway, so I guess Annie's been there for a couple weeks. That's kind of the sense we get. So now she's kind of seen the photo. She's kind of accepted her lot in life. And we cut back to Dean's, and she's rubbing Dean's feet, which I never do for my husband. Ew.
No.
I don't want to, like I told Chris when we were watching this movie, I'm not going to touch those snaggle toes. Like was not part of our vows.
And they're just like getting drunk in the middle of the day. And this
Burping.
is also where I realized that Dean is probably just a giant alcoholic.
It seems like it.
And Billy,
that's
too.
probably why he's such a bad dad and kind of an abusive partner.
He calls her sugar lips and love chops.
Well,
at
is
one
it
point.
a weekend? Are they drinking beer while watching a game? Again, I'm not trying to make excuses for Kurt Russell and his beautiful mullet, but I'm just saying, like, are they watching a game on a weekend? I'm just questioning this a little bit.
Still, like, more than one 6-pack between two people.
I mean,
It's not a lot of
I've seen some
alcohol.
adults kick some.
I mean, he does
Yeah,
have
that's true. I mean,
kids,
like, I'm not
though.
saying I haven't done it, but
was
like,
gonna
he has 3 children there and is
4.
an adult man. 4
I mean, it's
children.
not the responsible choice.
A little one.
I would also point out this is, I think, the first time we see the bang the bottle against something to get
Yeah.
the cap off.
Yeah.
That we'll
Yes.
see multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah.
Which I have never been able to do.
I was watching this with Nicole, and when he did that, when he banged the beer and a little bit spilled, she was like, "Oh my god, it's okay with spilling the beer."
Well, no. What grossed me out was that so Kurt Russell like puts the bottle, just if you haven't seen the movie, anytime somebody does it, they put the bottle up against the edge of something like a bookcase or a table, and they bang the top of the beer with the back of their with the palm of their hand, and the beer top pops off, which I've never been able to do, but everybody does it in this movie. And so at this point, Kurt Russell does it, and then a little bit of the beer foams over, and he just shakes it off onto the carpet like a fucking savage.
That's what I'm saying. I laughed
Like a fucking
Nicole, like, cause she was
savage.
so upset. She was like, "He doesn't care about spilling the beer."
Well, I'm just saying, he's like, how much beer is this guy throwing on the floor?
He's an alcoholic.
Okay, well, now to your point, I think I agree with you. Because who spills
Sorry, I waited for this
beer
moment to reveal
on
this.
the floor? Oh, is this
Theory
your
of
theory?
mine.
Okay.
This is my theory, is that Dean is a raging alcoholic.
Well, he does seem to drink a lot, but I just don't all mountain men drink. I'm not a mountain man, so I don't know.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. It just seemed excessive to me.
She's trying really hard to fit in. It's kind of sad, actually, because every time she sits down, he's basically like, "Sugar lips, will you get me this? Sugar lips, will you get me? We need more beer. Sugar lips, what about dessert?" And she's like, "I didn't make any brownies." And he's like, "What about chocolate cream pie?" And she's like, "I made some chocolate cream pie." And she goes to go get it, and the kids have put glue on the plates,
Yeah.
and she gets her hands glued to the plates.
Which I do love this scene. I think it's funny.
Yeah, it was kind of a
But also
classic
because I
80s
was
move,
a
I think.
horrible child, and I wanted to do that so badly.
You could do it now to your parents.
Yeah.
Like at Thanksgiving dinner, maybe.
Yeah, my
I
dad's
was
also my
just-
boss. Like, he could fire
No,
me
not
for
your
that.
dad, your mom.
Yeah, she's the real boss.
Also,
okay.
is this
Still
bad
get
that
fired.
like my first thought was like, that's perfect. She's perfectly equipped now to smack them all in the face.
It did seem like it would be a good opportunity for that.
Yeah.
So the kids glue the plates to her hand. She's furious. And this is when she like blows her top, basically.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've slaved and cooked and cleaned. I've picked up after you and your dogs and your kids and your friends. And he's like, well, it didn't bother. And she's like, it didn't bother you before. And she's like, well, it bothers me now. She's like, I
and
don't
then
want to live
Joe
like this.
sprays her with chocolate syrup.
Yeah, sweet little Joe. He just wanted to get into the Dr. Death Club, though, I think, right? The gruesome ghouls or whatever they were.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so she gets sprayed with the chocolate syrup and goes into some kind of weird state where she seems like she's about to get some serious revenge.
She
Yeah.
brings them the pie.
I thought she was going to, I mean, I've seen this movie before, but I thought she was going to
smush it.
smush the pie in his face. She like brings him the pie on the plate that her hand is stuck to, and she's like,
Yeah.
your chocolate cream pie.
And
Very
they
ominously.
they dig it. They don't use plates or forks or
No, they're
knives. They just
disgusting.
like dig into it. And then she brings the hose from the sink and sprays them all.
Which is a long hose.
Very
By
long.
the way.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I didn't think about it being from the sink. I just assumed she brought a hose from outside, but she fully sprays them down.
And I was imagining this being like the moment when like they start fighting and like this being a big bad moment. But this is actually a great moment for them. They all seem to like it.
Well, we
and
see
start
her
playing
laughing
around.
and having
Yeah.
fun for the first time.
Yeah.
So
She runs outside and the kids chase her.
right,
kids
she
put on
runs
masks.
and hides, and the kids put on masks, and they come out, and she jumps out at them, and like they all roll around in the. So the kids, it's like I don't think she connects with Dean necessarily in this scene, but I think she connects with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what happens
agree.
here.
Okay, so we're in
Alright.
the classroom.
Okay, so we're in the classroom. So it's the next day,
I love this scene.
I do too. I
Yeah.
think this is a great scene. The kids are called up by the teacher.
Why are they all in the same class, by the way?
I think they're
Because-
taking a test, a placement test.
Why are
It's a
all of them
one-room
taking-
school, and she's the principal.
Well, she's the principal and the only teacher apparently, because I didn't see any other teachers. They only hired one actor to be a teacher in
all
this
in the
movie.
same room from 5 to 14. So I just assume this is supposed to be like a one-room schoolhouse kind of deal.
But if you look down the hall, it looks like
looks
a
like
school.
there's tons of classes.
Without overthinking it too much, I think that they're there to take a placement test, maybe
Mm-hmm.
to figure out which grade they should be in.
Or a standardized test.
So a
maybe?
standardized
Like
test,
a-
which you still would not take
Yeah.
with a multi-age group, but who knows? Maybe this is an alternative school.
Did they even have standardized testing back then?
Yep.
Oh yes, I took standardized tests. It's not like now where you take one like every other week, but yeah, you did take them from time to time. And they are taking the Schwarzman-Heimlichen test, apparently. So the teacher berates them in front of all the other students. And Annie arrives to talk to the teacher, much in the same way that I do whenever somebody asks me to come to school to talk about my child. And they're like, you know, she doesn't listen. And I'm like, fucking tell me about it. I mean, that's basically my attitude. I'm like, you think she doesn't listen here? Well, you should see what goes on at home. Let me tell you. So then she looks down and realizes that the kids have poison ivy. And immediately is like, hey, teach, what the fuck? My kids have poison ivy. And it's like all over them. Like they've got it on,
is.
and they're like
It's, like,
itching
on
and they've
their
got like
faces.
open
Oh.
sores. And this is when she goes off on the teacher and is basically like, you know, my kids are smart kids. They're sensitive kids. And
Tests are dumb.
tests are dumb, and goes basically says everything that I feel about standardized tests. And so she defends them, which is probably something that they haven't really experienced before, really on that
Yeah.
level, I think, where somebody really goes to bat for them. And in fact, Dean is there and he just kind of stands outside
Yeah,
the room.
why does he just stand outside the room and listen? Why doesn't he come in and participate?
I think he was more worried about the teacher saying something that would strike up her memory and make her realize Annie's
Yeah,
memory and
or
make
asking,
her
like when you guys got married or
right
whatever. Yeah.
or saying something like, oh, so you're new, he remarried you recently, because when I came to the house he was very single.
Interesting. I thought he didn't go in there because he didn't want to get involved. I thought he just didn't know how.
I thought he
think
didn't
was
go in there
afraid
because
of
he
the
didn't want
conflict,
to
frankly.
get yelled at.
That too. Like, I think he just doesn't know how to deal with his kids. That's what I interpret it as.
That's what I thought as well.
But he is
too.
kind of out
But
there smiling about
Yeah,
her
he is like, hell yeah, good job.
takedown of the teacher.
All
Like, he
right,
seems like
Joanna.
this is the part where they're starting to connect a little bit.
Yeah,
I
this
think.
is like the fall in love, and or at least he's falling for her. But
Yeah.
I was just like, I did not like how he just
Sarah's not on board.
hung out there and let her take that and didn't. And they're
She
his
didn't
kids.
seem to need any help.
No, she seemed like she had it
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty down pat.
He
Well, and
would've-
this is also the moment where her accent kind of loosens up a little bit. Because I went back and I watched this movie
Right.
twice, and I realized by the end that she doesn't have the same not accent, but I guess
Well,
the
there's
way
the
that she
upper class-
the vocal
Yeah.
affect of the upper
Yeah.
class. And I noticed by the end that it had loosened up a little bit.
Yeah.
And the biggest shift happens right after this scene.
Yeah, this is when she really like embraces, like she becomes Annie,
Mm-hmm.
I think, in the scene. And you're right, like the vocal quality of her voice changes. It's a good observation. So this is the scene. So after this, she's putting calamine lotion on the kids, and this is when we discover that Joey can't read.
Which if he is 5, that's perfectly fine.
Well, whatever. I don't remember. I thought he was 5. Maybe he's 6. Maybe he's 7. I don't know. The point is, all the kids say that he's too old to not know how to read. Basically, it's like a problem that hasn't been addressed. All right. So the next scene is they're playing volleyball and grilling out.
Yep.
They seem to be fully in the swing of their life together at this point.
They start talking about a golf course, which actually I watched this movie again, and they mentioned the golf course in one of the very first scenes.
They do. They mention it throughout the movie,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until this scene that I realized his dream in life is to open a mini golf course.
Dreaming big.
It's just so lame.
Look, in a tiny town like that,
It's a moneymaker.
you
It's
know,
a big dream, Hillary.
Look, the man.
Gosh,
we
Hillary.
we haven't gotten there yet, but his night job is shoveling fish guts.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Just saying.
doesn't make it better.
So yes, they do bring up the golf course several times at the beginning.
Annie
We have
throws
not
in her
mentioned
ideas.
it. In fact, his ingenuity with the closet, I think, comes up later when they're designing the golf course as well. I would say.
But then she offers to help him by drawing the things for the golf course, drawing the sketches.
Well,
for
she
the
doesn't
comes up with the
offer. He
idea.
tells
Comes
her
up with
to.
the plans.
Well, she comes up
Yeah.
with the idea
yes
for the 7 Wonders of the World theme.
and then draws it all for him. And then we've got
With
a
crayons.
montage of her drawing them
okay,
with crayons and
you
markers.
guys missed a really important thing.
How did I
Okay.
miss
And
that?
it's, hey, Trav, don't knock her up.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, he gets a girlfriend.
Yeah, he
I
Travis is walking with some girl,
and
and,
this-
his kid brother, the youngest one, Joey, is like, hey, Trav, don't knock her up.
And this
And
led
he's like,
to Nicole, Chris, and I talking about teen pregnancy for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty common in that town. I mean, Chris was
No
like,
judgment
it's a
on
real
small towns.
worry. It's a good warning. You should heed
It's a
that.
real worry.
So we do get the montage of her, it's like a short montage. There are like 5 montages. This movie is riddled,
80s loved montages.
riddled with montages.
All of our 80s films have had
Yeah.
montages.
So she's drawing all the pictures. It seems like she's enjoying it though. Like again,
Yeah.
like she seems happy. Like I realize this is not a real like life that she's leading, but she seems happier than we saw her on the boat. I'm just saying.
True.
for sure, but it's fake.
What is?
But are we
fake,
all
Hillary?
living a fake life
Are
in the
we?
Matrix?
Guys, if somebody kidnapped me and forced me to become their wife, like I don't care how fucking happy I am. You better
Look,
come
frankly,
get me.
I could use some help around here, and I might kidnap you and make you my wife.
If you did not know that you were kidnapped, though.
But I would let you sleep on the air mattress, and you would not have to sleep on the couch.
That's a proper kidnapping.
And you would not worry about
That's
dying from a gas fire.
hospitality.
It's still just guys like
And there are no ghosts in my house.
that you know of.
All right, so next scene, they're building the golf course. We see him doing all the sort of Rube Goldberg mechanics on the inside of the pyramid thing. All
Okay,
right.
and then at the next thing, Dean thinks he should tell Annie the truth. What I didn't write down what makes him think he should tell her the truth.
He comes home and it's they're at the golf course and they're working on the golf course, and Dean is basically like, I'm feeling guilty. At first it was a gag, but now I'm really feeling bad. I need to come clean and tell her the truth. So he comes home and Annie is teaching Joey to read.
And Joey says, "Are you gonna leave?" And she says, "No, I'm your mommy." And he says, "Well, sometimes mommies leave." And she's like, "Well, I'm not gonna leave." And he gives her a macaroni necklace. Which is
Heartbreaking.
So cute.
I was like breaking my heart. I was like, these poor kids, like their mother has died and now they've got a new mom that they're lying to, and it's just like, it just breaks my heart. This is the thing that does really bother me about the movie, is the kids and the way that they
I'm glad
get
there's
wrapped up in
something
this.
that bothers you, Nicole.
I don't know why. I tried to feel
okay.
bad.
It's
I
okay.
tried.
You suspended reality.
Okay.
You
I
bought
tried-
into it.
I
You
tried
did.
to feel
It's
bad.
fine. You're allowed to not feel bad.
But I
about
do
it.
feel bad about the kids. I don't feel
get
good
that.
about everything. I don't feel good about it. I recognize that this is some serious subterfuge going on and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And the dad comes home, and one of the twins is like, "I got a roll of Tiny Tim," and one of them is like, "I got an A in English," and Travis is like, "I'm flunking math."
Yeah, Travis, that guy's a loser.
Just a little smack to the face for Travis.
So he sits her down. He tries to tell her the truth. He can't seem to do it. Right? He just cannot seem to do it.
He says, "I forgot your birthday."
So he says he forgot her birthday. So now we go to Jim Dandy the Rescue again.
Again,
We've got
'cause
the
they
live
only have, like, 2
performance.
songs in this whole movie.
And they're both Jim Dandy to the Rescue.
is that banjo song just Jim Dandy to the rescue? Just
the one
banjo?
that
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. No, that's a different one.
They
No,
dance.
the hot single from the show. Well, there's also a Randy Newman song at the end. Jim Dandy the Rescue. This is the live performance of Jim Dandy with the Jim Dandy trio. I don't know what their names are, but they all look like Jimmy Buffett, basically.
So
And,
lame.
and what's his name? Chris Cross, the guy who sings Africa. They all look Christopher Cross. They all look like Christopher Cross and Jimmy
There's
Buffett.
a guy named
need to
Chris
see
Cross.
Christo.
Christopher Cross.
You need to see Christo when Africa comes on the radio.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. That's Toto. Toto
gonna
is
say-
Africa.
Okay. It's beautiful when it happens.
All right, so they're having a blast. They're dancing around, dancing, dancing,
Drinking.
and drinking.
I actually wrote
Drinking their
blast.
$7 bottle of champagne. Can I
Living
please-
Well,
large.
how much is that in 1987?
Probably like 14.
Okay,
Still,
seriously, I'm gonna
that's
look
an
it up.
absurdly cheap bottle of champagne.
Right, which is funny because if you think about that scene with the caviar, so her palate is definitely adjusted.
Changed, yes.
Yeah.
So they take their plastic cups and their bottle of Andre outside.
Well, they're having a good time though. She's having
gotta be
fun.
Andre.
She's having fun. He's having fun. After the birthday celebration, we get the sexual montage.
Where they like
you mean
have
the rape scene?
This is exactly what
Rape
Chris
scene.
This is exactly what
That's
Chris thinks.
said. My husband believes very intensely that this is rape, and I'm like, well,
It is.
it's consensual. She's consenting.
She's consenting to a man that she doesn't know because she doesn't know who she is either.
Well,
She's
Chris says
consenting to a
she
man
has
that
a brain injury
thinks
and
is
that
her
it's rape.
husband. It's
But
definitely
also,
rape.
men lie all the time about who they are and
See, maybe
trick
my
women into
exactly.
bed
This
with
is a
them.
more fundamental lie. It's
my
just-
maybe my standards are really low, but basically I was like, look, if every time a person lied about who they were to a woman to sleep with them, like everybody would be a rapist.
well,
basically.
by law, this is rape.
Fair.
This is rape by law. If you are lying about who you are and the relationship that you have with a person to sleep with them or in any way tricking them into having sex with you, it is rape. This scene is by definition a rape scene in my mind, and it really makes me uncomfortable. And like the idea of a woman who thinks that this is my husband, we've been married for 13 years, we have 4 children together, we've made these children together, I've birthed these children for him, even though I can't remember it, but this is the life I have, this is the man I love, I married him for a reason, my parents approved of him, my family approved of him, we got married in church together. I feel this in this moment. It's my birthday. I'm in love.
Which it's not, probably.
I'm going to have sex with him. And then to find out that that man is not your husband. He's your kidnapper. He's the man who has brainwashed you into thinking that you are married to him and has treated you like a slave for the past 2 months. It's a lot for me in this scene. But
those are all valid
that was
points.
a real
When you word it
heavy
like that.
moment, but
Yep.
this is a rape scene and it bothers me. And I love this movie. I won't even front about it. I think this movie's awesome. I think it's great. But this is a rape scene and it really bugs me.
Well
But-
said.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I mean, that's valid.
that's
For on
all.
the
That's-
evening.
No. I mean, I knew we were going to get to that topic. My husband would 100% agree with you. As far as the narrative goes, did they have any other choice but to go here in order to get them to the point where they decide to stay together?
I think so.
Yeah.
So you think that all of this could have happened without them sleeping together?
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
she
you
still
need
would have
to-
jumped off the boat at the end.
I don't.
Yeah. I
think
don't
so.
I don't think
I'm
you
just
need
asking.
a giant cock to discover that you love someone and want to be with them, you know?
Well, nobody said it was giant,
I
but
assume it is. Look at him.
I mean,
God.
based on the rest of his body, we're going to have to
I agree with
assume
Hillary.
that you are
don't
right
need
about
to
that.
sleep with someone to love them and want to be
No,
with them.
but I think movie narratives, and maybe it's because movie narratives. Well, this
narratives
is
are
written by a
stupid.
woman, though. This movie is written by a woman, but movie narratives
But women
tend
were just as
to.
brainwashed about sex and relationships as men.
Or is it actually more realistic that people have sex with even less emotion than this? I mean, I'm just saying,
I mean,
like,
I agree, but it's not the issue of emotion. It's the issue of information.
no, I mean,
but,
he's fully.
I totally agree that like
fucking kidnapped her, and he's fully lying to her.
You can sleep with people that you don't know and have it be totally fine. And like, if you are both consenting adults who are agreeing to the situation, but at this point, she is still a woman with a brain injury who doesn't know who she is, with a man who's kidnapped and lied to her, and
No, that's a fair point.
it's problematic. And like, I do think that it could have been achieved without this scene. I see why they put it in there. I
mean,
get it.
they need a sex scene.
I
That's
do
the-
think it was
why they put it in
unnecessary just generally for them to hump for so long.
I was gonna say,
And how did they like? They started on the
Extended
bed.
humping.
They went to the floor, and they were like, you know what? Let's get back on the bed.
I
think
know.
the
I'm
scene
like,
just maybe
why is
upset
it
me
like
'cause I
they
thought it was
humped
a
their way
lot
off the bed? Like,
shorter.
why is that necessarily? Like, why are they on the floor?
Yeah.
I don't.
and then
That bed is far too tiny. Also,
yes,
for comfort.
very true. But then to wake up and be like, "Happy birthday! Here's your gift. Let's fuck again." Like,
I
Oh
mean,
my God, and the kids
there's
being
nothing
there,
sexier than
and them kissing
getting a
half
washer,
naked in
new
front of the
washer
kids.
for, you know.
But
your
they're
birthday.
kick.
I don't
they're-
know. I'd
they're-
fuck any man that brought me a washer dryer at this point. In
no.
My life. Oh, it's just free dishwasher even.
Send your washer dryers to femininemistake.podcast@gmail.com.
Yep, please.
Okay. Moving on. Back on the yacht, Grant is still partying. Joanne's mom, Edith, calls again and is basically like, if you do not produce my daughter, she threatens him. She's like, if you don't produce my daughter, I'm gonna start cutting up body parts.
Did you mention
I'm
2 months have
coming in.
passed?
Yeah,
Yes.
2 months have
2 months
passed.
have passed.
Which, if you think about it, they really slapped that golf course together real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah.
Meanwhile, this is the day of the grand opening of the golf course.
And
It's
who
jean
gets
jackets as far as
in-
the eye can see.
Who gets in his fancy outfit?
Oh, he's got that fancy corduroy outfit.
Dean.
Hey, at least they're
So
consistent with the
fancy.
costuming.
Yeah.
True.
I actually thought that was a great touch to have him have this one nice outfit.
I agree.
Yeah.
Before they go, she finds the panties.
In the glove compartment.
Oh, yeah.
compartment.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah.
And it
Somebody's
has
in trouble.
JS on them, and she thinks her name is Annie.
Goulet.
No, Annie
Profit.
Profit.
Yeah.
So AP. She thinks her initials should be AP, but it's
Yeah.
JS.
You know, basically, she's like, this is not
Yeah,
nothing.
She threatens
and
divorce.
She threatens
Yeah.
to get a divorce. And finally,
says,
he's like,
Do you love her? That's what she
yeah.
says.
And he's like, yes and no, because obviously he's talking about her. But he takes this as the opportunity to come clean. And he
Yeah.
says, these are your panties, which is something a woman always wants to hear.
Yep.
We're not married. These aren't your children.
Actually, those are all things that I'd be fine with hearing.
And
These are your
she's-
panties. We're not married. These aren't your children. You can go
And Hillary's
home now
like
and you're
clicking her
rich.
heels.
And I'm like,
Hey ho!
She's not listening though. She doesn't.
No,
believe
she
it.
doesn't
hear
believe
it.
it.
No, no, no. She does not hear it at all. Well, he tries to get the kids to admit it, and they won't. They're like, "Fuck you, we're keeping her," which is fair.
Is fair.
Yeah.
They haven't
They-
had a mom for 3 years.
She's made their lives better. They have they love her, legitimately love her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, "No, we're not gonna." We're
And
not
he's
gonna
like,
let her go."
you would rather live with her than your own father, and they're like, yeah.
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 Okay. The golf course opening. So the golf course is packed. It looks like they have a good opening. Joey gets his arm stuck in Abraham Lincoln's mouth. The kids give her flowers.
Yep.
Dean credits Annie with having the imagination and the vision to bring the golf course to life.
And
Invites
then
her up on the
they-
stage, kisses her, gives her a ring.
Not just kisses her, but like makes out with her for a long while in public, because then someone else steps forward and cuts the ribbon, and then everyone's leaving. They're still just like face
Making out.
And then he
rubbing
gives
their
her a
faces
ring.
together up on the
and we don't
stage,
hear what
yeah.
he says.
Well, earlier she said that she lost her ring at sea.
Yeah.
And so I think this is kind of like the Stockholm Syndrome kidnapper version of an engagement.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because if you already think you're married and you get a ring that you've lost, you're getting engaged. It's romantic. This is romantic,
He,
right?
he tells her
This is
he loves her, and he
romantic.
says he wants to spend the rest of his life with her.
Right.
But this is just where this movie falls apart for me, you guys. Like 20 minutes before they got to this event, he was like, "No, bitch, you're really Joanna. Like, you're not my wife. I kidnapped you." And she's like, "That's very funny. Of course I'm not." And then he proposes to her, and he already has a ring ready to go in his pocket. And it's
Because
just
he
like,
loves her.
And he has a mullet.
Nipples.
bothers me. This is where this whole thing falls apart.
Look, I think he wants to be with her, but he also wants to tell her the truth, and those two things can't coexist,
Right.
right?
Well, clearly his kids are not willing to tell her the truth.
Yeah.
Well,
No, and neither is bad.
Well,
Billy
and
Brad.
we didn't mention this, but he says to them, "She doesn't belong to you," and they say, she didn't belong to you either, but that didn't stop you.
Yeah.
So
It's just creepy.
the
Parenting
kids are
by
right.
example.
Great
You know?
example for the kids.
Okay. So, but we do get the reveal. The reveal is coming. So after they get back from the golf course, Grant's limo is there.
She's like, "Hi, Grant. I just need to put these in water," and then
Takes the flowers inside.
she comes back and she's like, "Grant, my memory. They told me it wouldn't come back, but it did."
I actually, in terms of the writing of this, I love that she has all the lines and they just stand there silently.
I agree.
Yeah.
This is a difficult scene to execute because whenever characters are like getting their memory back, it can be real hokey.
I think Goldie Hawn did an amazing
this is
job.
a great-
She sells it really well.
Yeah.
It feels truthful as a scene about a person who has amnesia suddenly and remembering everything about their lives can be, but it feels very truthful. And I feel like the twist, the shift from, oh, I'm so excited that I can remember again, to holy shit, you lied to me, kidnapped me, and used me. And the pain that she feels there is very real, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that Goldie Hawn in this moment is a very underrated actress. Like, she's always only been in movies like this. You know, she hasn't gotten the big, like,
She's
Oscar
a
roles.
fantastic comedic actress,
But she's
and does
great.
a great job in this scene, I feel
and
like.
the kids chase
I would
after
keep
the limo. That's heartbreaking. But also, I heard on the second viewing, Joey cries out, "You said moms don't leave."
I actually cried both times because I watched this movie twice. I cried both times during the scene. I did not have that kind of reaction to it, obviously, earlier in my life before I had kids, but the kids like pounding on the window and her like putting her hand up on the window was like very
that really
heartbreaking to me.
She covered her ears in the same way that she did back when he had that fight with her.
Yes.
on
and
the
she
ship.
didn't want to hear what he had to say about her. Yeah.
Back on the yacht.
back on the yacht wearing a fantastic gold dress.
Oh my God, she looks
No,
amazing.
but first she's wearing a red and white striped shirt with a green velvet jacket. She's looking out at the water, and Nicole said something about post Annie look is much more human than
It's much more relaxed. Like her Joanna look before was she had the very tight back, pulled, slick back hair, and like a lot of makeup. And like here she's looking a little softer. Like they've softened her look as the post Annie look. So she's kind of somewhere between Annie and the old Joanna. So she's trying really hard to behave correctly, and I'm putting correctly in quotes. You can't see that, of course, at home. But Edith is there, Joanna's mom is there, Grant is there. And they're all trying to like figure out like if she's ever going to be herself again, or that old Joanna, which if that's what you want, okay. Seems like the new Joanna is an improvement, personally.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But her mom is equally insufferable, I believe.
Yeah. And her mom is wearing this ridiculous poofed out
God,
dress.
I love that she makes Andrew poof it before she sits down.
Andrew,
It's
I'm
my
sitting.
favorite.
And he has to like lift up her poof so that she can sit down.
Yeah, I think it's
But she
awesome.
doesn't sit. She just kind of like gracefully falls to the side.
Well, there's so much material there. And so she's laying in bed in her evening gown, full makeup on.
Yep.
As you do.
Like you
like
do.
you do, yeah.
I always sleep in sequined evening gowns.
Sleeping next to Edith, not in Grant's bed. She's chosen not to
next
sleep
to
with
her
Grant.
mother.
She's sleeping in her mom's room. Her mom's got this crazy face mask on. And she's just staring up at the ceiling, and she decides she's going to turn the boat around. She says, I'm going home. I'm going back to Dean.
Yep.
Going back to Dean. So
She
are
turns
you
the wheel
Are we
herself.
okay with it now that she knows?
I am fine with it at the end. I'm still not totally fine with the rape scene that happens.
Well, no,
but-
I just mean like,
Fine
are
with
we
her going
happy
back
that
to
she goes
him.
back?
I-
Hasn't she still been manipulated? Though?
Yes, I'm not okay with it at all. I just,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's just kind of,
I gotcha.
but whatever. I mean, free world. It's her choice. She can do what she wants.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
She
sure
loves- it's
some
a better-
therapy is in order, probably.
For all involved. Yeah.
I think everyone could use a little therapy.
But I mean, it's a better situation for this version of her.
Yeah. I mean, she seems happier. She's nicer to people. Again, we have to remember this is kind of a over-the-top comedy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, this wouldn't
with
actually
ridiculous
happen.
situations.
We go back to
when they're in the
Dean,
water.
and they get on a Coast Guard boat.
Well, he goes back to the kids' clubhouse and he's like, it's Dr. Death. Let's go. And the kids are like, we're going to go get Mom. And so they all get on this Coast Guard boat, apparently.
And then we're back to Annie, and she tells Grant that she doesn't love him anymore. And he's like, since when does love have anything to do with marriage? You should have stayed in that psycho ward. And then she's like, wait a second. And he's like, and then he goes on about like confessing to her, and he says, I was whacking the donkey with painted ladies.
Okay, I wrote that down and I was like, where does that come in? Like, I don't remember where whacking the donkey with painted
Is it
ladies
whacking
comes in,
the
but that is
donkey a
literally all it
euphemism?
says. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I didn't think he was literally whacking a donkey. No. Well, I hear that's
Another
what
Trump reference.
I hear that's what the upper class like to do.
I have heard
Right?
that as well.
I mean, that's I don't know. I don't live in that class. I'm not of that class of
I'm not of
citizenship.
that class where I need like gold raining down on my face from
But from what I
people's
understand,
genitals, but
when you're rich, nothing makes you feel richer than the
So
golden showers.
warm, hot gold shower flying at your face.
And the next thing he says is, I'm a god at
like
sea.
I'm a god at sea.
And then she tells the psychiatrist, she's like, look, he's having another episode where he thinks he's a god or
he
something.
thinks he's God.
Well,
Yeah.
she gets the psychologist to keep him busy, and then she goes below the boat and gets them to stop the boat.
So she jumps into the sea to
Wait,
die.
Wait, not yet.
We can't talk about this movie without talking about Gary Marshall's son, who plays the Coast Guard
Is
guy.
that Gary Marshall's son?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like Gary Marshall's
Best line
son.
in the entire movie.
What is his
Also,
line?
he was in
I'll
the.
get there. It's one of the last ones.
He was in. He was also in Beaches. He was the bellhop guy that we were like, "What's with that guy?"
Oh
Remember,
my
he's
god,
this tiny
Gary
character.
Marshall, come on.
Well, according to IMDb, it's his son, but I believe in Beaches he was referred to as a nephew. So I can't really verify what his relationship with Gary Marshall is, but according to
there is one.
IMDb, it's his son.
I have no
for this
patience
movie.
for nepotism right now.
Okay, except for this guy's amazing, and I
Except
want
he's
him in
gonna say,
every movie. He should be in every movie
I
in
thought
some bit part.
he seemed like some guy off the street, and I was like, what is he doing in this movie?
Nope,
Oh, I
best
thought he
line
was
in the whole
great.
movie.
I was like,
Best line. It's one of the.
He
I think I
is-
know which line you're
I
talking about.
remember
I'm sure,
he was a
I'm
big
sure.
standout for me even in the 80s. Like I definitely remembered him.
Oh yeah.
Man overboard, sir. Like his voice. It's just so
Andrew
great.
catches her, brings her back, and says, you need a life jacket.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Here we're getting ahead of ourselves. The Coast Guard boat has to turn around because of salmon
yeah, they
poachers.
found salmon
And then Dean's like, "Where are they going?" And she's like, "Where are they going?" And they're like looking at each other from across the sea.
Binoculars.
Oh, that
They all
part
have
was great.
binoculars.
When
Yeah,
she
that was
gets out the
cute.
binoculars and she looks at the boat, and like all the
All of
kids and
them are
all of
staring.
them
The
are
whole
all looking
family.
back at her with the binoculars. That was great. See, I can't help it. This movie is
I know.
charming. This
That
is
was
a
really
charming
cute.
movie
It was
about
really cute.
kidnapping.
It was cute.
I cannot help myself.
It is.
Anyway, so the boat's turning around. He's running to the edge of the boat. He looks like he's about to jump off, and he's like, "Katerina!" And she's like, "Arturo!" And he like jumps off the end of the boat into the water.
And then Grant tries to shoot an arrow at them.
Yeah. Grant tries
Yeah.
to shoot an arrow at them, and then he jumps in, falls in.
Gets pushed in.
Pushed in
Gets
by
Gets pushed in by Andrew.
who
and
can quits. I'm giving my notice.
Meanwhile, Gary Marshall's son is narrating the whole thing. And
Oh, yes.
he's, man overboard. Woman overboard. Man is firing arrows at woman overboard.
where he's like, "Another man overboard."
man with arrows is
Yeah.
fallen overboard. And then he delivers the most beautiful line. They swim to each other.
What
swim.
does he say?
They meet in the middle and they kiss. And he says, man overboard is kissing woman overboard. Man with bow is being dragged back onto port. It's a hell of a day at sea, sir.
I know, he's the best. I love that guy.
Yes,
Love that
It's
guy.
a beautiful line.
So yeah, they meet in the ocean. They begin kissing. I can't help myself. I don't know why I should not want them to be together, but I do. Like, what is happening to me? Is this Nicole in 2017?
I don't
Is
want
this what
to want
2016
it.
has done to me, or is this like just
No.
Beating you down to the
Am
point
I-
where everything's acceptable.
Right?
I don't want to want it
Is
either,
this normalized?
but I love it at the end. I love this movie at the end. The only problem that I have is that it's just, I feel like it's just another movie about how children make a woman's life worth living. And that's kind of a bummer to me as somebody who like doesn't necessarily want kids. That like, I don't like the narrative of like, that is the only way to find purpose in your life.
Well, you're not going to like the last line of this movie.
I know. Yeah,
which
the
is-
last line.
okay, so first,
okay.
they-
Okay, but I feel like I need to address that because I think
Well,
that
first of all, all the money's
baby
hers,
boom
too.
was
Yes, yes.
very guilty of that, certainly.
Yeah.
But I think that the meat of this movie is more about her seeing the way the other half lives.
I agree, but then that last line is where it gets me. Is that like she tells him all the money's mine, and he faints, and she's like, it's fine, and then they're back on the boat, and he's like, what can I give you?
Okay, but
you
also
don't
the kids are
already
making out
have?
their Christmas list, which is
Yeah.
hilarious.
But like, what can I get you that you don't already have? And she goes, a little girl, and then like giant zoom out, end of movie, and it was just like that was a bummer to me.
My
And I
reaction
like,
was
big-
5
big
kids.
bump-
You
bummer.
want 5?
And plus genetics, like, do you not understand that you can't choose whether you have a boy or
they
a
know
girl?
that. Okay, I'm gonna step in here and defend the movie at this point and say, like, I hear all the things that you're saying, but I think that she is established at this point that she wants to be a mother. I think you can see that this is. I think I can see a difference here than in Baby Boom,
I agree.
where I felt like Baby Boom took a career woman who had no aspirations to be a mother, forced a baby on her, and then she just naturally fell into it as though all women should be able to be mothers.
I
and
don't
I can
understand how this
Well,
is
she
different.
didn't want kids
She didn't want
either.
kids.
She
She was
didn't even talk
forced
to
to
her
be a
mom about how
mother.
she didn't
Yeah.
want
well,
kids.
she didn't. I think she didn't want kids with Grant.
Either way,
But-
it's not
But it's not
She-
specified.
It's not specified. And
It's not, but it seems to me like she didn't want to. I don't feel like she was. I didn't feel like she loved Grant. I think she fell in love with this family, and she wanted to be a part of the family, and that was something she found that she enjoyed.
But let's
and
pretend
kids do
let's
change your life.
pretend that he didn't have kids and it was just him.
I was about to say that.
Would she want kids then?
I
No.
don't know because that's not what this movie was about. Like
Yeah,
I you know
but
what I mean? Like
Hillary's
I-
saying she has a problem with what this movie is about.
I think that without the children, like I think it makes it worse that she is his slave. Like, what is she just going to clean up after him the whole time and bring him beers? Like, she doesn't have any.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
It's just like that's part of the problem that I have is that if it was just him, she wouldn't have just fallen in love with him. She wouldn't have.
I don't
And
I
plus,
don't know.
It would have
Maybe
been
she
it would have been
maybe she
bad
wouldn't, but-
for her. Like, they don't need the kids for it to be like bad. Like, it was bad just with him and her.
Yeah, and I just think that there's just like a
I
fundamental
think the
difference
kids
of looking at
is
it
what
too.
makes it less shitty. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, her relationship with the children makes it not just a story where, I mean, it is a story about a man enslaving a woman, but it would, I assure you that if I was watching this movie and she did not have a relationship with those kids, it would be a lot harder for me to get on board with the story. I'm telling you, narratively, they needed the children to make this less shitty.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. They needed
Absolutely.
the kids to make
That's
this
all I'm
less
saying.
shitty. It's just I think they also used the kids as a device to say part of what brings a woman humanity and kindness and empathy is having children.
But also-
and that's the
yeah.
issue is that I have with it is the messaging of that like a woman needs children in order to feel whole in the world,
Yeah,
and
and-
that's the problem that I have.
I can see that, but I also
But-
think you can broaden that device to say that, again, if we're looking at a film like Three Men and a Baby, that the broader message might be having children brings a person closer to their own humanity. And I'm not saying every woman has to have children. Absolutely not saying that, but I can tell you, as a parent,
Yeah.
that having children has brought me more in touch with my own humanity in ways that at times I don't even want.
But I don't think that that's the only way to achieve that.
No, I don't think so
And
either. But
I
that's
don't
what
think we
this
see-
movie made the choice to do that.
Right, but I think that as we're looking at, like, since this is our thing, is like looking at the
totally.
way women are portrayed, we don't have a whole lot of narratives of women finding that empathy and that humanity in ways that are not
Without
tied to children.
kids.
We don't have a whole lot of movies of women who are on a self-discovery path and find their humanity through helping others or empathy through finding other people that they identify with who work in a different job than them or have a different lifestyle than them.
Or
We
like
don't
Wild.
have a ton of those,
That
you
didn't have
know.
kids.
Most of the narratives of women finding
Oh,
humanity and empathy are with
100%
children.
agree with you. But I also would argue that the problem is that most narratives are you soften a woman by having her fall in love with a scruffy man that she can change and make better,
I
which is
agree.
the exact same thing.
It's the exact
that's
same thing.
happening
Yeah.
here.
Right.
What I don't
So-
like is kind of what you guys just said, that you needed the kids to make it less bad, and that sucks that that they used the kids to make him look like needed to have that moment when the kids are like, no, like we want her. We're gonna keep lying to her. We're not gonna tell her the truth. Like without that, he would look bad.
I'm just saying, I think he would seem like a fucking psychopath without these children. Is what I'm saying. Like they narratively, they need the children.
I don't think any of us are arguing with the narrative need for the children. It's the message that it sends by having her go back and say, I want a girl now and I want more children. And I love that narrative. Like, don't get me wrong. I think the story of the children is very sweet and very touching, and I do like it. But as a woman who wants to live her life independently, not necessarily with children, like I do believe that there are other ways to find those senses of fulfillment without children. And I don't particularly like the narrative that that's the way that most/all women find that.
I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
This is the part of the show where we read horrible casting breakdowns. And this is our first horrible casting breakdown of the year. And we're not going to out the company. We're not going to out where we got this from.
All right.
Take it away, Liz.
So this is a female lead, 18 to 24. Female, born in historic Harlem, the child of an African-American military veteran killed by rogue NYPD officers after 2 successful tours of duty overseas and just shortly after her birth. Semicolon, and a drug-addicted Italian mother who ran off when Gwen was just barely out of diapers. Raised by her grandparents until the age of 17, now in her early 20s, has lived everywhere, from New York to LA to Atlanta, and is now residing in Miami, having been there for just over a year now. Never the one to care about anyone's opinion, Gwen has been working in a profession which she feels best puts her bangin' tight body and exotic good looks to best use, exotic dancing. And boy, is she a seasoned pro!
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like it really sneaks up on you.
Tight body.
At first, you're like, "Oh, that sounds like it's oh."
I know. I was reading. I was like, "This isn't so bad." And then I got to the bottom.
You're
I was
like,
like,
banging
"Oh,
hot body. Got it.
she knows
she's
how to use it."
Exotic dancer. Okay,
It's like they all they needed to say was she has a banging tight body and she's an exotic dancer. That's all they need. Like all the rest of the shit
Must
is
look
just
vaguely Italian.
It's just filler of them trying to disguise the banging tight body.
Grew up in Harlem, raised by her grandparents.
if you've got acting dreams out there and you've got a banging tight body, you too.
I wish I could know the
can be
name
a
of
part
it.
this fine film project. Welcome to Plug It Up. This is the part of the show where we talk about what we're up to and what our guests are up to and how you can find out more about the amazing work that they do. Let's start with our guest, Liz.
I have 2 fun projects coming out this year. One is a short film and the other is a web series.
Oh.
Yeah. Woohoo! I
very
can't
exciting.
give too many details at the moment because we are filming it, but it will be out in the fall.
Oh, exciting.
Yay.
Do we have a
2017.
title for this stuff?
Can't give it away at the moment.
Oh, no. Can we,
NDAs, yay. But, I will say,
Oh, okay.
if you follow me on social media, you will find out details about it as I'm able to disclose those details. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at E2TheLiz, ETOTHELIZ, or you can go to my website, liz-schad.com.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Well, we'll be looking forward to getting more information about that.
Absolutely. I'm so excited about it. Sweet.
All right, Sarah.
Well, the short film that I wrote and directed last year is going to be coming out this year, maybe in March or something.
We're in post-production.
Post-production, yes.
And
this is a
it will be
film that
coming out
is
soon.
about, it's a fictional professional dick pic photographer starring
mockumentary
starring Hillary Heath as
and
the
Robbie,
photographer.
Robbie Glade.
Mm-hmm.
It's very funny, and we're just getting started on post-production. I think it's gonna be really, really great. You'll find it on the Vimeo channel. Believe me, you will know. You will know when it's there.
Hillary R. Heath will become a star. Finally.
All right, Hillary, what would you like to plug?
Well, you can check out my dick art in Dick Pic Professional, and you can also check out the full first season of PYT's Web Show. Which is now available on the Critical Crop
The
Top
whole damn
Vimeo
thing.
channel.
You can
The
binge it.
whole thing. You can binge every single episode. I recommend you roll yourself a fatty, curl up in front of your laptop, and watch this episode or all the episodes.
Watch them all. Yeah.
So you can check those out at vimeo.com/criticalcroptop.
Yep. As well as our other, as well as some of our other work, such as 80s Dating Video Remix, which has been, going around the festival circuit.
Screened all over the place. And I keep posting all over Facebook.
Yep. Yay. All right. Lastly, I would like to thank our fiscal sponsor, C4 Atlanta, who recently took us on, and we would like to plug. Thank you, C4 Atlanta.
Thank you so much.
So we're taking. We're currently in the fundraising process for our 2017 programming. We're hoping to. We're going to be putting up another sketch show, 2 sketch shows. We're going to be shooting a couple more short films, and we're fundraising for that, of course. And the podcast. We'll be continuing to do the podcast all year. So. If you would like to make a donation, you can do so.
A tax-deductible donation. Or if your business would like to make a tax-deductible donation, become a sponsor of Critical Crop Top, you can visit our you can visit our webpage, criticalcroptop.com, and look for the C4 donate button. Or email us
at criticalcroptop@gmail.com, and we can give you more details.
Yeah.
That's our show for today. Thanks for joining us. We're so happy to be back. We've got a lot of great films this season. We had a blast talking about Overboard with our guest, Liz Shad. Thank you for being here, Liz.
Thank you.
Yay.
And
so fun.
We'd love to hear from you. So interact with us on the Facebook page. You can subscribe to this podcast, Feminine Mistake Podcast, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on SoundCloud. And we would appreciate it if you would leave us a review.
A 5-star review
5 stars only. Actually, whatever, man. Whatever your feelings are. Whatever your feelings are about this episode or other episodes.
Negative, and then you can just send them to Twitter. All the rest of your stupid thoughts.
W, you really feel
It's late. Right. I'm tired.
Well, that happened. We've got all the episodes up from our first season. So if you haven't listened to the first season, go check it out. We've got some other films that we covered last year. And if you've got a nervous breakdown that you'd like us to read on the show, or if you've got some thoughts about Overboard, send it to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com.